going to be talking about today is Prezi, which I think most of you saw at faculty retreat. Is that true? And so there was a big push at that time for some kind of a workshop on it. I was not at that time a Prezi user. I'd seen it, I'd played with it, but I just hadn't used it. And so just during this quarter, I was just gathering resources and looking around, seeing what other people were doing. And we'll see how. So this is the first workshop of this, so we'll see how that goes. I wanted to add an element of comparing and contrasting with PowerPoint because I think it's important to see, especially if you're already using PowerPoint, why you might want to switch or why you might not want to switch, depending on what you're doing. So we'll be working with it here. So if I was to go to Prezi.com and log in, I'd get to this page here, Prezi.com, and if I didn't already have an account, if I wasn't already logged in here, it would have asked me to do that or to be able to set up an account. But once I have logged in an initial time, it remembers me when I come back to the site, and then it'll say, here are your presentations, or Prezi, excuse me. And so you'll see your Prezis listed. You'll want to make sure that you sign up using an EDU account and that you let them know that you're an educator because that makes a difference between 100 megabytes of free space in the cloud on their server and 500 megabytes. What they'll give you. It also means the difference between having a public account. Always, everything you create is available to anyone if it's free, and if it's for an educator account, you could make things private. Okay, if you're working with someone else outside of SPU who's not an educator, let's say your church or something, and they wanted to create an account, their situation would be that they would have to pay if they wanted something to be private. That's one of the benefits of the premium account if you're not in education. Okay, so this is what it looks like. The one we're going to be working with is this Prezi versus PowerPoint. So I'm going to click on that link, and it's going to hopefully slowly take me into that. So at this point, this is a link that I could share with people that they could come here themselves. They wouldn't have the ability to edit it like I'm seeing, but this is a place, a URL where someone could come into. Okay, I want to at this time click on edit the presentation if I'm going to either at this time if I want to do more than just show it. I'll click on edit. And because I've specified that I'm an education user, it always comes up with that educational licensing piece. And then I come to this screen, okay? And it already has some of my things on it, so we're seeing those. But if you were starting for the first time, it would be a brand new presentation. And what you notice as I'm editing it is that I have this what's called a bubble menu up here on the left. And that's really the key to it, is that you've got the ability to, at any time, click your cursor somewhere on the screen and be able to add text. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so you can see the whole thing here. And I know we have some people that have used Prezi in here. So at any time, I think it's everybody I've talked to talks about it as being, looking for a few more tips. I'm using it, but I want to be able to do this one thing, and I don't know if it's possible or how to do it. So at any time, if you can tell me how I can be more efficient with it or effective, feel free to jump in. But this is giving you, I zoomed out enough to where you can see my entire presentation. And so I still see the bubble menu up here. And like I said, any place that I'd click, I'd be able to start typing text and make a new slide, so to speak. It's not really a slide, but add new content to a place on the screen. And I think one of the challenges for me when I'm learning how to use it is making a transition from PowerPoint. Thinking about PowerPoint since 10 plus years, this is the way sometimes you think about your presentation in terms of the tool that you can create it with. And so you're putting those things in your mind, and how would you do this and how would you do that using the tool that you have access to. So for me, in trying to make a presentation about Prezi, using Prezi, was a little difficult because I was still thinking in terms of PowerPoint. So when you look at my presentation, there's a lot of it that just really is PowerPoint, where I'm going linearly through slides. I'm taking advantage of some of the transitional features that Prezi has, but not necessarily the nonlinear ability to branch off to places at any time. So we can talk more about that, but just to give you a little bit of background on it. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and begin the presentation just by using the bubble menu to click on the Show button. So I clicked on the Show button, and that takes me to this point. And then down at the bottom, I can see the arrows, the navigational arrows here. And if I click and hold down on the back arrow, it will take me to the start of the presentation. Did everybody see that? So just clicking down on that, you see the little reverse arrow. That was something I struggled with. I spent a lot of time shifting around and moving it to where I could zoom right in on my first piece of content that I wanted to share, and only until, sometimes you have to read the directions to find out that there was actually a little way to jump there immediately. So your arrow keys can work. Did anyone who's used this, have you tried it with your clicker? Because it is supposed to work with a clicker. I have not gotten that far. I have not tried to see if it will work with a clicker, but supposedly it will. Okay, yeah, the clicker is designed for a linear presentation as well, so it would be limited in what it could do for you. Okay, so here we are on a first piece of content. Here's our presentation that we're looking at, and so we want to talk specifically about how to use Prezi, but we also want to, as we're going through this, compare and contrast PowerPoint. So objectives here in traditional PowerPoint bullet form, we want to know what Prezi is. We want to know how it's different than PowerPoint. We want to know how to get an account. We want to, by the end of our time together, talk about a workflow. How do we think through a presentation? And then at the end, how do we, when we're finished, share that Prezi with other people?